there's no real playbook on how to actually cultivate mentors. So in a nutshell, Dina, what would you say to young people listening to this podcast who are seeking out advice and possibly mentors in terms of how to approach them, how to engage them, how to develop a relationship that's not so burdensome on the mentor that it makes it like almost impossible from a practical perspective?
Well, the book talks about that. And I'll let Dave kind of talk about the 4 elements that really are central to a mentoring relationship. But we actually did a survey, the first of its kind, 1,200 young people that the Yale School of Management and Morning Consult did. And we learned so much from that. But one of the most interesting things we learned is that people don't want, quote, transactional mentoring. They want transformational mentoring. So it isn't just about get me the job or, nominate me for this thing or that. That's all important. But it's someone that really cares enough about you to give you tough feedback, to give you constructive, tough love, which is gold, by the way. I think young people don't realize the greatest gift you can have is a mentor that you can be vulnerable with, who can really give you the tough love. And the key for you is to actually know what it is you're trying to get out of that relationship. Like, the worst thing you can do is call Dan Senor and say, Dan, I want to be like you someday. Can you mentor me? No, it's Dan. I want to understand how maybe I can work both in government and the private sector. What kind of internship should I have? Are there any people you would suggest I meet? If you're a realistic mentee and effective with those people's time, it will be transformative for you. If you're like, Dan, can I have a 3-hour lunch? It's not going to happen. And then that person can more easily stick with you. I have so many people that have worked for me in the past or that are mentees of mine. They know if you text me and say, I need your advice, here are the 3 options I have, I will respond. And I am so excited to do it. Now, obviously, those are deeper relationships I started. But I worry that this generation doesn't know how to be what we call an effective mentee. I'll end with saying one important thing that came out of the survey. Men and women want different things. Men want access to power and influence with a mentor, no problem. Women who have less mentors because they're scared to ask for them want authenticity, and they want to feel like that person is really going to be connected to them. And finally, male-dominated industries like finance, frankly, if you're a woman in a male-dominated industry, guess what? You need a male mentor because they see the perspective of everyone else sitting in the room that you don't see. One of those for me was Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman, who was my boss for 10 years. He's one of my dearest friends. I used to say to him, "Oh, that's pretty rough what you just said to me, but you know what? You're a good mentor." And he would say, or should we say tormentor? Because he told me stuff I didn't want to hear. And I'm telling you, Dan, there's no way that I would have improved in that pretty tough environment without that kind of mentoring.
Yeah. Just one more word on that, Dan. Despite the difference between men and women, and by the way, if you're a man having a woman mentor, which I did, Ann Coralogos, so you may remember her, was a great person. It was a cabinet secretary during the Reagan
under
administration.
Reagan. She was Reagan, Secretary of Labor, I think.
Exactly. An amazing woman who has since passed. But across the board, there were 4 things that we learned which are critical to great, successful mentoring relationships. And by the way, mentoring relationships are very satisfying on both sides. It's not just for the mentee, it's both. But the first is trust, a trusting relationship, because you got to be vulnerable. You got to be honest with people. You got to believe that there's something here that you can be your real self with. The second thing is it's just values. So the difference between transactional and transformational is you're talking about not just the next job on the promotion ladder, but who you want to be, the kind of life you want to lead, the kind of values you want to guide you. The third is mutual commitment. As Dina said, it doesn't mean you got to sit down for 2-hour lunches. It does mean that if you're going to be with somebody as a mentor or a mentee, it can't be. It's got to be a commitment to engage, particularly when the person you're mentoring needs you, because the challenges and opportunities don't come on a certain timeline. And the final thing is You've got to have someone who can help give you confidence. Because one of the things that I think we all know, that those of us who have been around a while, that failure is inevitable, risks are inevitable, and you've got to have someone who can help you take on those challenges, take on those risks, and overcome the inevitable failures. And, Dean and I both in the book talk about our failures, and many of the people we interviewed, these wildly successful people, you never have heard about their failures before, the mentors were most instrumental in helping them deal with failure or deal with their weaknesses.
We don't talk enough about failure, Dan. I mean, and a little bit of it is we live in a bit of a cancel culture, like, oh my God, I failed, I'm never going to be able to. The truth is, you never grow from success. You only grow from failure. You only get that next job because the thing that stung so bad in the moment is really what helped you became a better leader and probably got that next promotion.